Hey everyone, the name is Erik Thor, and in today's video we're talking about how to love an INFP and how to make INFPs feel loved and understood. And so, how do you connect with the INFP personality type, and how do you know if an INFP likes you, and how do you build a strong rapport together, and how do you create a space of intimacy and openness where both feel comfortable to be themselves and to share who they really are on a deeper level, right? Because the truth is, INFPs don't automatically open up to every single person they meet. Most INFPs can struggle with shyness and with feelings of modesty and not knowing when and who and how to express themselves and what to do in different situations. And because of this, INFPs are sometimes said to be cold or turned off. Introverted feeling is a function that often runs inside, and so INFPs tend to carry their feelings inside, and this is not because they don't want to put their feelings out into the world, but it's that INFPs only want to put their feelings out into the world when they feel safe to do so. And so for an INFP to open up to you and to say I love you, or that I like you, or that I care about you, that's a very difficult thing, and it takes safety and space to make sure that they feel the room to say these things, and that it's okay to say these things, and that you appreciate them for saying these things, right? So how do you build that foundation? How do you build that space and trust? And how do you make sure that INFPs feel that this is okay? Well, most importantly, what you have to consider is, how do you make an INFP feel comfortable? Well, first of all, knowing that they're introverts, you know you're not going to want to rush them, right? So if you're rushing them, putting pressure on them, and trying to get them to open up or pull information out of them, you might find that they start to, well, in the beginning, they might try to go along with your flow. Over time, they might find themselves pulling back because they get scared and anxious and find it difficult. And so you want to take this pace by pace, and you want to make them take things at their own pace. If you allowed INFP to find their own pace, that's very positive for comfort and for stability, and that's going to make them more naturally open up to you and more openly share how they feel around you when they feel it's okay to do so, right? Another thing you might want to do is try not to control or overplan, because if you try to control the situation too much or overplan their life or overstructure things, or if you're trying to put on commitments or structure or organization around them that is too limiting or too stifling for them, you might find that they will rebel against that and they don't want to go along with that, and they'll try to do things to kind of stop that. Like in the beginning, they might try to put up with it and be like, okay, I'll try to go along with that because that person seems to like it. But over time, they might feel stifled by it, so try to be careful with structure. It's completely fine to want to structure things, but try to create a structure which allows them to be open. And so when you organize things, don't always tell them, or if you organize things, still give them the freedom to say yes or no, or to come up with different options. And once you've been able to create this foundation of comfort, of course, what you also want to do is you want to inspire them, right? You want to motivate them. You want to make them feel like you've created a space where they can express themselves, right? And so how do you do that? Create the space that allows for some healthy dose of chaos and novelty, right? Try to put yourselves together in fun and new and different situations, and try to stimulate their mind by making sure that things are never the same, right? Create and add color into life, and show color in different ways. Put color into things by, for example, expressing your thoughts and emotions outwardly, right? INFPs respond really well to knowing that other people are honest and open about how they feel. And if they can see that you are passionate about things, and if they can see that you are creative and enthusiastic, and that you are open to do new things and to share how you feel, that's going to be very inspiring for them, because that's going to tell them that, hey, it's safe for me to do the same around this person, right? Now, when an INFP is in love, typically their behavior tends to change from how they normally come across. So INFPs that normally tend to be more introverted, intuitive, feeling and perceiving, can, through love, become more extroverted and also more open to plan and to organize things. What I see when INFPs are in love is they become a lot more confident, a lot more bold, and they take a lot more risks. Love makes us do stupid things, right? And so what I find is INFPs that are in love are a lot more creative and a lot more open with their feelings and a lot more open with their creativity. In a space of intimacy, INFPs share a lot more than in a social environment or in a group or in a larger setting. And so if you want to get an INFP to open up, often it's best to find or create a one-on-one spot or a situation where they're allowed to safely express themselves and how they feel without having to necessarily talk to a large amount of people about it, right? So find ways to create romantic occasions together, just the two of you, where you can just get to know each other. And this is something you can also do with INFPs that are just friends, right? Because we can experience love in many different ways, and it doesn't only have to be romantic. We can also experience love in friendships, and we can also experience and create intimacy in our closest friendships. And so, yeah, this is something that I find is very helpful. By getting the INFP to be alone with you, INFPs will be a lot more open, and they're going to be a lot more bold, and they're going to be a lot more honest about how they feel, and a lot more expressive emotionally too. One thing you might find when INFP is under a lot of stress at work, and when INFPs go through a lot of difficult situations, is that INFP might become unusually cold, right? So INFPs that are facing high stress situations, pressure at work and other things, tend to become a lot more detached than they normally are, right? And so what you're going to find is, if an INFP is in this kind of a situation, they might find it increasingly difficult to open up and talk. When INFPs are under the most pressure, it's the hardest for them to talk. And so it's very important when you notice that they are in this kind of situations to help them, recognize that, oh, you seem to be going through a lot right now. Can I help you in some way? And is there something I can do for you? And this seems to be very tough on you. And if you need to talk, or if you want to take a time out, we can do that together. So perhaps help them to find a way to create a time out, a safe space where they can unwind and let go of all those things, so that they're able to reconnect with themselves, right? Because while, of course, stress is a healthy state, and while it's completely fine to be under stress for a short amount of time, long-term stress can become unhealthy. And so it's important that we create and give people the freedom to play and to do silly things just for ourselves, and that we find ways to detach from work, after work, and that we find ways to connect with ourselves, right? It's common when INFPs are in these situations that other people think, oh, he's shutting off from me, and he's becoming cold and distant, and oh, he doesn't care about me anymore. But it might not even have to do anything with you. It might just be that, well, they're going through a lot, and when they go through a lot, they tend to shut off, and they tend to become a lot more focused and a lot more logical and a lot more cold in how they approach things. One thing a lot of people tend to misunderstand about love is they confuse this feeling of anxiety, of fear, of being startled with being in love. And it's interesting that we do, because of course there are some similarities between the two emotions. Love tends to give us tickles in our tummy, right? But anxiety also gives us tickles in our tummy, but not the comfortable ones, not the nice ones, right? So something that's very important that I think to recognize is that, well, you can intimidate an INFP to fall in love with you. You can push them, you can push their buttons, you can make them feel unsafe, you can make them feel like they're not allowed to be themselves. And this can also somehow get INFPs to share and to feel it and think, and that maybe they're in love and maybe they like you. But actually, this is very important to recognize that this is not something you want to do, and that in the longer perspective, this is actually not going to get the INFP to show any form of care towards you or any form of love or affection. So it's very important to recognize that, well, the deepest forms of love are and happen when we feel safe around one another, right? And so INFP, if you're noticing that somebody is making you feel anxious, if you're noticing that somebody is constantly putting you in uncomfortable situations, constantly making you feel unsafe, constantly making you feel like mixed messages, like they're on and off, like they are sometimes pushy or demanding, it's very important to be able to say that, hey, this is not okay, and this is not something that I want, and this is not something that I feel good about, and I don't like when you speak to me that way or do these things, right? Because there's lots of tricky things about these situations. For example, once the anxiety fades or they stop doing those things, we feel good, right? We feel suddenly safe, and we feel like, okay, I did something right, and okay, this person likes me again, And so there's like a feeling of relief, right? And we confuse that as well for love, but it's not the feeling of love, it's a feeling of relief of, oh yeah, okay, he's okay now. He's not gonna say anything stupid again. He's not gonna do anything bad again, right? So it's very important to recognize that, okay, these things are different, and so it's important for you as a partner of an INFP, and so it's important for you as a partner to an INFP or a friend to an INFP to recognize that there are certain things that INFPs don't like and that are not very nice to do for an INFP or to an INFP, right? And so what you want to notice is, for example, how INFPs tend to respond to extroverted thinking. So a big no-no is to try to compete with the INFP personality type. Don't try to put the INFP down. Don't try to raise them. Don't try to make them feel like, you know, they have to be in a rush. Don't make them feel pressured. Make the relationship feel like a transactional relationship where you give and take. Make sure that the INFP feels that while you can do all those things for yourself in other situations, with them, you're able to take that down and you're able to meet them as an equal and you're able to allow them to be who they are. So yeah, those are my tips for how to love and connect with an INFP. I hope they helped you understand like how to navigate INFP personality type and make them feel a bit more connected to you and yeah, to each other, right? Best of luck and see you all in the next video. And if you need any more help or support with these things, you can always reach me on patreon.com/Erik Thor.